Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. When we think of the 30 Years' War, images of religious conflict and political struggle often come to mind. But what if I told you this devastating war was also a crucible of military innovation, a fiery forge that hammered out the very foundations of modern warfare? It wasn't just a contest of faith and power. It was a revolution on the battlefield. Let's start with the gear. Before this era, warfare was a messy mix of knights, pikemen, and early, unreliable firearms. The 30 Years' War changed that. The matchlock musket, once a specialist weapon, became standard issue. Imagine thousands of soldiers, lined up, all capable of firing a projectile that could pierce armor. This wasn't just an upgrade, it was a game changer. Simultaneously, cannons transformed from massive stationary behemoths into lighter, more mobile artillery pieces. They could be moved around the battlefield, supporting infantry and smashing enemy formations. This deadly combination of musket and cannon fire meant that old tactics were simply no longer viable. The age of the armored knight was officially over. With new weapons came new defenses. Medieval castles with their high, thin walls were sitting ducks for this new artillery. The solution? The trace italienne, or star fort. These were low, thick, and angled fortifications designed to deflect cannonballs and create deadly kill zones for any attacking force. Sieges became long, drawn-out, and incredibly complex engineering challenges. Capturing a city was no longer about a quick assault. It was a scientific process of digging trenches, setting up artillery batteries, and slowly strangling the defenders. The Star Fort fundamentally changed the strategic map of Europe, dictating where armies could go and how wars were fought. It was a brutal but brilliant evolution in the art of defense. These technological shifts forced commanders to rethink everything. The old deep squares of pikemen were too vulnerable to cannon fire. Enter the linear formation. Armies began deploying in long, thin lines, often just a few ranks deep. This maximized the number of muskets that could be fired at once, creating a continuous volley of fire. A well-drilled line of infantry could unleash a devastating wall of lead. But this required immense discipline. This is where we see the birth of the professional army. The unreliable, often disloyal mercenary bands of the past were gradually replaced by standing armies, permanent forces paid and supplied by the state. These soldiers were drilled relentlessly, learning to march in step, reload in unison, and hold the line under unimaginable pressure. This shift from mercenary to professional soldier wasn't just a tactical change, it was a societal one. And that brings us to the biggest impact of all. How do you pay for, feed, and equip these massive permanent armies? You need a powerful, centralized state. The immense logistical and financial demands of this new way of war drove the rise of modern states with complex tax systems, bureaucracies, and a monopoly on violence. Kings and rulers who could effectively raise funds and manage their armies grew more powerful, while those who couldn't fell behind. The military revolution, therefore, wasn't confined to the battlefield. It reshaped the political landscape of Europe, paving the way for the nation-states we know today. So, the 30 Years' War was far more than a historical conflict. It was a period of intense and rapid change that accelerated the transition from medieval to modern warfare. The innovations in technology, tactics, and organization during these 3 decades had effects that rippled through centuries, influencing everything from the design of our cities to the structure of our governments. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this journey into military history interesting, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.